two goals are sought from this example. First of all, it's another exercise for you that you are gonna calculate the net present worth of these with different ways that you know and compare the results. That's one exercise. Another thing I want to tell you about this is the new way, another way to handle this, because there are many ways to handle it. For example, you can take this 400 present value here, you get it to this, and after that you have this negative gradient to handle them. You can do it with PV, you can handle it with NPV, and anyway. But another thing that I want to show you, see, here it starts 1000, after that it is, here we have 400, okay? So it means that this part is 600. So the first one is 600, the second one 450, the next one less, and like that. Okay, so how other ways you can handle it, because it is now negative gradient, and the previous cases that we did together were positive gradient. So you can do it in this way. You consider it as 4, 2, 3, and 4. All of them are 400, correct? Sorry, 600. So it's a very easy PMT. But what happens, it gets negative gradient of 150. So we can put that 150 here. 300. For year 3. 300, does 300 works? Yes, it works. And here for the last one, we get 450. So what happens? 600, here we have PMT, and here we have positive gradient of 150. So totally this part equals 150. And we had this 400 here. So you see, it makes sense. Everything is related to each other. And so I wanted to show you that other way of remodeling your cash flow to be able to do that. And the last thing I want to share you on this page, I'm asking you, if somebody tells you in the word of interest of 8%, okay, in the word of interest of 8%, they are giving you, they are selling you a bond, 8-year bond, that on year 1 it gives you $1,000 cash, year 2 $850, year 3 $700, and like that. How much are you willing to buy that bond? Forget about this. How much you are willing? Yes, what you are now having in your mind is the present value of that bond. When with 8%, you are going and calculate all the things, and some number comes like, for example, $3,000. For example, it is not an accurate one. Okay? Present value of all this pay are 3,000. With 8%, so you are ready to pay for that bond 3,000. But remember, at the end, they don't give you anything. So it is a special bond, for example. I know The example is not, it doesn't look real, but I just want to give you the idea that when we are talking about pricing, it is not very different from calculating the net present value, my friends, net present worth. So just in case at the end, because usually at the end you are getting the nominal value of bond at the end of the time and when the bond is mature, but here assume that there is zero, so you are just getting a bond that after 8 years it loses its value, but it gives you 1,000 and all these things. How much are you willing to pay for that bond if the interest rate is 8%? If you calculate the present value and the value is 3,000, so it means that, oh, if you pay and buy that bonds for 3,000, you are in fact making an investment for 8 years that gives you back 8% interest per year. So if banks are paying 5% per year for the certificate of deposit or any other long-term investment opportunity, it's better to go for that. So that bond is worth $3,000. And just imagine they tell you, we are going to sell it to you $2,000, for example. So it seems that it's going to be a bargain. I hope I have give you the idea. Okay, here now for this slide. So here we are gonna do a quick review on the things. And as I said, bond pricing is a time value of money problem that you already know about them. And the bond, now it makes the situation more realistic. Sold at the face value, that in the previous part I said nominal value, face value, the value on the bond, for example, $1,000, and it pays interest, and at the maturity, the face value is repaid, in the case that I just described to you, we assume that there is no value at the maturity. That I told you, it's not realistic. And another thing, since bonds are being bought and sold over their lifetime, and since the interest rate of the market changes during their lifetime, their price vary considerably. We are going to work on that. And bond pricing is one of the interesting topics in the field that now we are learning together. This example is a little bit different from the previous one, and it is more practical regarding pricing. But like always, I first encourage you to do it yourself, because in that way, after you see the differences between the answer I'm showing you after the explanation, you can understand your mistakes or misunderstanding better, and that would make your learning deeper. Okay, a 15-year municipal bond was issued 5 years ago. So, what does it mean? If I draw the cash flow, it means that here at 0, we bought a 15-year bond. Five years ago, so if it is 5, it is 10. It means that now we are here, okay? And 5 years ago, we bought a bond with the face value of $1,000. What does it mean when it is a face value? It means that after 15 years, without any question, they are gonna give us $1,000. Okay, and the coupon interest rate is 8% because bonds always come with the coupon, and based on the committed contract for that bond, they are going to pay you. For example, here in this case, they are pay you interest semi-annually. So it's not going to be compound interest because they are going to give you just interest. So with that way, they avoid paying interest on interest. They are going to pay you your interest. They are going to deposit your interest. And always the face value stays at 1,000. It's also another financial instrument. So it says that the coupon interest rate is 8%. So it means that it is 8% annually, but paid semi-annually. So what does it mean? It means that semi-annually they are paying the owner of that bond $40. So all these years, from year 1 to the end, year 15, $40 is being paid. And now we are at the beginning of year 6 here, and these payments are waiting for us, as you can see. So that's the story. And if you have already invested in bonds and you are educated about them, all these things seems very obvious to you. But the logic of bonds are very interesting, classic examples in any financial classes. So now we have this, and it says what is the bond's price if the market semi-annual rate is 6%. So you remember I told you, when you are getting a bond, over the lifetime of the bond, the price of bond changes. That changes in the price of bond is dependent to the interest rate of the market. Use your common sense. If you have a bond that you bought $100 and it pays 8%. You bought it several years ago, but now the market interest rate is 20%. Do you think these bonds worth now higher than 100 or less? Use your common sense. Of course it is worth now less. Why? Because at the time we bought it, the market interest rate was 8%. But now the market interest rate is 20%. So nobody is willing to pay you $100 to get 8% interest. They go for 20%. So what happens? The price of 100 comes down. So it also equals to interest rate of 20%. So that's the point. That's the point, my friend, that if the interest rate of the market goes up in comparison to the time that you have bought your bond, interest of market goes up, the price of your bond comes down, and vice versa. It was common sense. Now we are going to do it with calculations. Okay, we're doing some math, so you will notice that how much that common sense is completely matching and in alignment with the math. Okay, so if you don't think still it is common sense, replay the video and check everything. Because just imagine now you are getting a bond at 5% because the market return is 5%. Okay, and now your bond is 500. So anybody at that time now getting the bond, they are receiving $25 per year. But after many years, the interest rate in the market raises to 10%. So the people are not gonna buy your bond at 500 because the amount of interest it is paying is fixed. They go and buy new bonds 500 at 10%. So they are receiving $50 per year. So what happens to the price of your bond? It will crash to $250. And it always happens. Now we are going to do the math for this. So what I want you, because I also gave you the heads up in about pricing and I told you it's all about the present value and all those things. So I want you to use your every skill you learn in this course so far and try to come up with the answer. A 15-year-old municipal bond was issued 5 years ago. So now we are at the beginning of year 6 and you have all these cash flows coming. Cash flows of 40, 40, 40, 40, and at the last year you have $1,040. And the face value, the municipality is absolutely committed to give you back $1,000, but when it is mature, whoever is the owner of that bond. So now the market interest rate is annually 12% and they are paying semi-annually at 6%. And remember, this payment that you are receiving is semi-annual. 8% annual, so semi-annual it is 4%. Now go and calculate if you want to sell your bond, how much the market value your bond. Stop the video, do not rush to answer, be patient, and remember, always reasoning your way to the answer. If you jump to the answer and you say, I understand everything very well, that's still good, but you should be a composer. You should be a generative natural intelligence in this field. The fact that you understand everything when you see the answer is good, but it's not the greatest. You should reason your way to the answer. Spend time, half an hour, 1 hour, 2 hours, try to get your answer. And after that, compare it. Now stop the video and work, because after that, you will show the answer. And when you see the answer, it spoils it. Here is what we have. Now we are at the end of year 5. That is considered, in fact, year 0 in our calculation. Okay, 5, and at the end of year 6, we are going to receive the first 40. You see, I'm just putting the cash flow. Because when you want to price a bond, you just immediately jump to the income it creates for you. Even without any education, anything, just with your common sense, you are going to say, okay, now when I want to pay X dollar for this bond, how much it will give me back? They tell you at year 6, the first 6 months, you get 40. The second one, you get 40. And because it is year 6, You see, it is year 6, and in year 6 you have 2 payments. At the end of each 6 months, you receive $40. Because if you check in the PowerPoint, it says that the interest is being paid semi-annually. And the annual interest rate is 8%, so the 6-month interest rate is 4%. So in year 6, we have 2 payments, 40, 40, 7 the same, 8 the same. But remember, this 6, the second 40 is 6 months after this. And you have this because, for example, you are, when you are paying your mortgage, you are paying it monthly. Although they tell you, for example, the interest here annually is 7%, 8%, 3%, or 4%. So don't overcomplicate it. You have already done more complicated examples, problems. So you are just paying first 6 months 40, second 6 months 40. Now we are in year 7, and like that it continues. It continues, and in the last part, as you can see here, you are being paid 1,040. 1,000 for the face value and 40 for the last interest you are getting. Now create the present value of this. So as you can see, net present value. Net present value, what is the interest rate? The interest rate is 6%. It was in the PowerPoint. It was in the slide that the market semi-annual interest rate is 6%. So I'm putting that 6% here. And after that, all these payments. What is the present value? $770.60 the market is willing to pay for your bond. You start saying that I paid 5 years ago on this bond $1,000, and now you are telling me you are buying it from me $770. And they said that at the time you bought it, the market interest rate was 4%, and now it is 6%. And now, my friends, absolutely, you can imagine many times bonds can become very good investments if the interest in the market drop. Remember the Corona time, that the interest rate dropped to 0, and all the bonds with high interest rate at 5%, 7%, 8%, value skyrocketed. And the logic behind that is this. And now here, before I end this video, I'm going to show you the answer also here in another way they have done it. But always you have noticed that the way we do the examples are way easier than the way you see in the slides. So here it has separated from 5 to 14. In fact, year 5 to 14, and the interest rate 6%, PMT $40, FV 1,000. Don't let this confuse you, because it is just ID, and you know ID is just ID. You can come up with any ID. For example, your M numbers are ID. But these parts, when I is 6%, now you have a very good understanding of that. 6% semi-annual. And when it is talking about 20 because it is after 5 and 10 years every 6 months, so it is considered 20 payments. PMT is 40. You are familiar. So you see, when you know the logic, no matter what way you go for the calculation, and here they have gone for present value, P value, but I did it through NPV. You can do it any way you like it when you are learning, but you need to have a good understanding of both approaches. And here the results, present worth, is 770, the same for both of the approaches.